Anyway, she said to me, because she wanted to come to that, the thing I had on the app. She goes, you and Howard got to put candles this time. Did you see the half I had in my feet? So, but just so you know, like, you want some, I can give you some, so you don't have to. I have about 100.
Kevin Kelly?
Okay?
And these are Kevin Kelly?
I should be here, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that he wasn't.
3 days. Oh, like that much? I get 3 days out of them. My home. Oh my God.
Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the prayer. Grant us, O Lord, light to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision, neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority, and may we use it in our directives for the common good, for thy honor and glory. Amen. Call to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce, Mrs. Joyce, Mrs. Hardwick, Mrs. Mara.
Here.
Mr. Conrad.
Present.
Mr. Thompson.
Present.
Your mic's on. Thank you. Okay, start out with public comment. You have 3 minutes. Please come up. State your name and address.
I hope this is the time and it's not after. Stan Roediger, where I live, 10 East Shore. On your agenda, under resolutions, it seems you're going to want 2431 resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract negotiation with CT Consultants and doing this, declaring an emergency. And this is for the sidewalk project. My question is, why aren't we getting competitive bids on the design work? Because this is above and beyond any of the regular city engineering work. And it as to an emergency, council, have been talking about this design job and the sidewalk for months. So why are we giving it to a friend and not competitively bidding it? And why is it an emergency since you've had 6 months to play with it? And also the next resolution, authorizing the third-party reviews, same thing. I just don't understand why this is an emergency, since you've been dealing with this since our two councilmen, or actually one, Ryan's been pushing this for some time. And why are we giving it to a friend versus putting it out on the street where you could possibly get better bids? I mean, that's the big thing. We're always looking to save money. And I don't know if you're going to save money by handing it to a friend. I know you're not going to do anything about it. The village never does.
Dan, I'll address it when it's time.
I
But-
still have about 30 seconds.
Got all the time.
And
you
we're going to
need.
talk about Browns now because they're,
Yeah.
no, I just want to know why everything is an emergency. And two, why aren't there competitive bids? No competitive bids on the truck, no competitive bid on assault. 33?
One,
You got a
Oh,
whole
1
minute.
minute?
yeah, I'm going.
Shall we dance? No, I just need to know why. I mean, it's an ongoing thing, why everything's an emergency and why the council doesn't plan and get bids on things. Also, I sent a note, one of my friends that, the shingles are blowing off the, pavilion and has
got
been
some-
for years.
We've got some quotes on that. We're working on that. But yes.
Okay.
And I got an answer for you when it's
I'm
when
glad
it's
you
my
have an
turn
answer.
to
Huh?
reply, but let everyone
Okay,
know.
yeah, how much
Speak.
more time do I have? It went, oh.
Time's up.
Can we talk about Stephen Vogt, one AL Manager of the Year? Maybe you want to talk about
Yeah,
the Browns,
yeah,
talk
well,
about the
we-
guards.
The Browns are in deep trouble. I don't believe it's the coach either. I mean, you only play with the horses that you're given.
And the Cavs going
The Cavs
for
are
a
good,
big
going
tough
for
game
tonight.
tonight.
Big night. for
Big
the
night.
Cavs.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Dan.
Anyone else? Please.
Jane Chaveco, 14 East Shore. This is also regarding the sidewalks. And I'm wondering, as far as Timberlake, what kind of ordinances do we have regarding sidewalks? I know that we're covered under the Ohio Revised Code of the Chapter 729, which states it's solely on the property owner. But there's also some question also when you read into the Ohio ordinances as far as who's liable, who's responsible. And also, once we have these sidewalks, who's going to be the one inspecting them and taking care of them? Because there's a lot with the Ohio law that it's up to the property owner and all of that. And I'm hoping that we also can get some on Timberlake's books if we don't have any, because this is the first sidewalks we're going to have in Timberlake. So I don't know if there's anything, I don't know if the counselor could let me know if there's anything on the books, but we need to really look into it before we start building,
Yes, Councilman.
because
Conrad.
thank
Thanks,
you.
That also. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane.
Anyone else? Please.
Hey, Kim Saba, Owasso Drive. So does anybody want to tell me about our dirty laundry being aired on the front page of the paper? Because this is ridiculous and it's embarrassing. I'm waiting. That's what I thought.
Not
Thank
now.
you.
We'll have our chance to talk, but not now. Yeah, happy birthday, Stan.
So, nothing?
Anyone else, please?
Denise Verdi, Owasso Drive. Yeah, speaking of that article, I want to piggyback off that. That is truly embarrassing, and I do realize that you cannot comment on that right now, and I understand that, but I do want to make a statement. This is this type of thing, is a scourge on our village, and we are the ones that this is being attacked on, the village. This is, I would imagine this is going to be a huge cost to us. And I just, want to apologize to you that you all have to go through this ridiculousness. And it's just a shame that that we have to go through this. And it's been rumored that these lawsuits from this person has been done a couple other times. I don't have the facts on that, but that's the truth. Somebody looks like they're, getting some supplement income, looking for supplement income down the road, maybe retirement income or something. But I look forward to this being over, and I'm going to pray for wisdom for the legal counsel in this regard, and that true justice will happen. And thank you.
You, anyone else?
Elizabeth Laub, 9 East Shore Boulevard. Well, this is obviously the topic of conversation, and a lot of people don't know what's going on, but if you put your ear to the ground, you know what's going on, and it is despicable and it is embarrassing, and it should never have happened. But once it's said and done and all the information comes out, you will know where the truth lies. I represent myself and several villagers. We are very thrilled with the chief's performance. It's the first time since I've lived here. We've had community policing. She knows everybody. She responds. We can count on her to follow the book. She is a book person. Even if you don't like it, she follows the books. And that's something to be admired. And it's a shame that this council was not supportive. It's a shame that we have to go through this as a villagers to, as you said, scourge on our community. Because if you listen to your villagers, you would know what we want. The problem I see with this council is they don't listen to their constituents. I think you're going to have a problem with the sidewalks because you didn't listen to your constituents. I hope I'm wrong because it sounds like a good idea. But instead of emergency meetings and sliding things beyond us, it would be very nice if you slow it down, talk to us, talk to the village, get some feedback, and do what the villagers and your constituents who voted some of you into this. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on. Reading and disposition of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the Finance Committee meeting minutes of October 8th, 2024, please? Mr. Joyce makes a motion.
Second.
Mr. Conrad seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce.
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce. Mrs. Hardwick.
Aye.
Mrs. Mara.
Aye.
Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the regular council meeting minutes of October 15th, 2024, please?
Make a motion?
Ms. Mara makes a motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Joyce seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce.
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce. Mrs. Hardwick.
Aye.
Mrs. Mara.
Aye.
Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, moving on to legislation. Resolution number 2024-25, second reading, a resolution approving the permanent appropriations for the Village of Timberlake, Ohio for the year 2025 and declared an emergency. Next is resolution 2024-26, second reading, a resolution authorizing the fiscal officer to transfer $15,000 from the general fund 1,000 to police cruiser fund 4901 for the current fiscal year 2024 and declare an emergency. Next is resolution 2024-27, second reading. A resolution authorizing the fiscal officer to transfer $41,322 from the general fund 1,000 to the paving improvement OPWC debt service fund 3902 for fiscal year 2025 and declare an emergency. Next is resolution 2024-28. A resolution authorizing the mayor to hire Kenneth Rafferty as part-time service department employee for the Village of Timberlake and declare an emergency. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please?
So moved.
Mr. Joyce makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Conrad seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce.
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce. Mrs. Hardwick. Mrs. Mara. Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. Do I have a motion approving resolution 2024-28, please?
Make a motion?
Mr. Mara makes a motion. Do I have a
I'll-
second?
I'll second.
Mr. Thompson seconds. This is, he used to work for us before in service, and he's going to be doing our plowing. He's great at the evening plowing, who goes out before the school buses and people have to go out to work and gets out there nice and early for us. So we'll be doing that. And also we'll have still our other crew backup. Jim Summers will be working. He'll be also as a backup for plowing. And of course, I'll be as a backup also as third backup. So
So you can retire your sandals and not go out in the middle of the night to plow?
hopefully not.
That bring
hopefully
us 5 in service?
No.
Five people in
We
service
have
now?
5 people in service, all
Right.
part-time, but they all, between them all, they all seem to get a few hours here and there and they're all satisfied.
Yeah.
So that it works out well. Plus, we have a lot of leaves right now. So,
And our new plow, our new salt spreader?
well, we'll get to that later.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce, Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara.
Aye.
Mr. Conrad.
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is resolution 2024-29. A resolution amending the permanent appropriations for the village of Timberlake, Ohio for year 2024 and declare an emergency. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please?
Could we have quiet, please? Mr. Mayor?
Excuse me. Thank you. Sorry. Quiet, please. We're saying, thank you. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please?
Make a motion?
Ms. Mara makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mrs. Joy seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce, Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Conrad,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. Do I have a motion approving resolution 2024-29, please?
So moved.
Mr. Joyce makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Conrad seconds. Discussion?
This is for, so there's a couple line items that are running short on funds for the year. So there's also, well, the first one actually is increasing 10041410213 Medicare. That's in zoning from $43.50 to $44 because I need a couple more, a few more cents for the last Medicare payroll for that, for zoning. Yeah, it's Gary Gray.
Okay, thank you.
And then increasing 1007553441000 tax collection fees. This is our income tax collection fees. And we're increasing that from $15,000 to $16,000 for the year. And that's to account for higher than estimated income tax revenues and thus collection fees. So there's a 3% fee from Rita for collecting the taxes.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Are we in discussion still?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Mr. O'Leary, can you explain the rules suspended on this for us for the villagers that came and asked why we suspend rules for things like this?
Is based upon that specific legislation. And in this case, because the fact that the accounting is not going to work and we only meet once a month as a council, that sometimes you have to suspend the rules for that reason.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to.
The other thing that comes up is, and this is the case with like hires. Sometimes you have to suspend the rules to get somebody on the books to do that. Or like in the case of grant funds that we're going to talk about here in a minute, sometimes there's a deadline. And so you need to be able to get a hold of and apply for those grant funds. And that's one of the things that we end up having to suspend the rules for.
Thank you. I apologize for putting you on the spot
That's
for that.
okay.
For the benefit of the public, there is reasons that we suspend the rules, the deadlines because of, once a month,
Right.
there's hires that we need to do.
Well, listen,
So
Stan's right. Wherever possible, if you can plan things through, which is why you see the first several resolutions are on second reading, because we did first reading last month. The whole purpose of that is to have everything planned out so that we can make sure that that we're doing our business in the way that it's intended. But there are times when you have to suspend the rules. So
With one other point on those first 3 resolutions, Mr. O'Leary, we still say and declaring an emergency.
that's so that they go into effect upon execution,
Okay.
upon adopting them.
Again, just wanted to.
Otherwise, yeah.
and agree wholeheartedly. I was kind of leading the witness there, if
Yeah.
you will, Mr. O'Leary, if you allow me to use some legal speak, but there is
Stay in your own
reason
lane, Ryan.
and objection. But there's a reason, and this council, I think in particular, And the mayor in particular, we do our best to leave things for the 3 reading rules so the public has an opportunity to see them, hear them, and, come and give their
And there's
opinion.
times.
And yes, and Stan, I will 100% get to your question, and there's good reasons and explanations for it.
Let's get this.
We'll get there. We'll get there, Stan, but I just wanted to ask why we suspend the rules at times, we don't others. So if you will, Mayor.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce, Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Conrad,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is resolution 2024-30. A resolution authorizing the mayor, fiscal officer, and chief of police to apply for grant funding through Ohio Office of Criminal Justice Services for body worn cameras and declaring an emergency. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please?
Moved.
Mr. Joyce makes a motion.
Second.
Mr. Conrad seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce, Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Conrad,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. Do I have a motion approving resolution 2024-30, please?
Move to approve.
Mr. Thompson makes a motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Joyce seconds. Discussion?
Chief, do you have anything for us on this grant proposal?
I didn't bring what I sent to everybody. Exxon, Pfizer's in Arizona. Their top line, body worn cameras, 5-year program. It's the first program, so it's throughout a year and a half. It's not even though we're gonna sign a 5-year contract with Exxon, the funds have to be dispersed within. Grant award letters will come out in March, and then the window for reimbursement ends June 30th of 2026. So each time the village pays a segment of it, they get reimbursed through CJIS.
Okay,
When the
Do-
awards letter comes out to everybody that's applying, there's not a guarantee that you get 100% financing,
sure.
but in the CJIS application, it does say departments that have not had cameras in the past 2 years are these departments, and we have not had cameras. So it's kind of at the top of the list.
Right. So do you have the grant application ready and submitted, ready to submit? Because it's due on the 22nd?
After leave the meeting, and I'm gonna go right to my computer to submit this grant.
Okay, so we are, for council and everyone, we're gonna approve a grant that we haven't seen.
It's in the attachment.
Is it, it's in
Yeah.
there?
It's the 7 pages attached.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So and you had help with OCGIS, right? And people at that department that helped you along the way? Okay, and we are now is it tier 2? How's it go?
For the collaborative.
Yeah.
We're on group 3.
Group 3,
But this body camera thing, it's all under group 2.
group 2, okay. And Axon is top of the line. That's who most agencies use. So thank you for that. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Axon is the preferred, and I think Mr. O'Leary can speak to that for other communities he serves and other police departments. So the way the quotation was written was, I think it was 6 years. You might be right on 5.
It's 5 payments.
5.
And but you're not making those 5 payments over 5 years.
Correct.
Those 5 payments have to be made in full no later than June 30th of 2026. The CJIS doesn't leave their grant windows open.
So the grant funding is one payment essentially, right? So they award you the fund, you get the award letter, like most grants, and then you pay for it similar to our body armor grant, right? And then, well, it's 100% versus 75-25, but you get award letter saying you are granted these funds, and then the village, for lack of better terms, fronts the money, and then we get reimbursed from OCGIS, so the Ohio Criminal Justice.
That's up to the village. If you want to pay it all in one lump payment, or if you want to break it down the way it's broken down in the Axon proposal. I think it's $6,190.
Yeah, a year for over
Five,
five.
five payments.
So as the village, we have the optionality of, so we will submit the 30,000-ish dollars, just to use simple math, to OCGIS. They will grant us, well, if we get the award, then we submit that to them. This is what we're paying out. This is what our grant's for. And then we get the money from them
As we pay it.
as we pay it. But we only have till June of next year.
You're not gonna be able to pay them in 5 yearly payments.
So we have to essentially, and this is what I'm trying to get at, is essentially we have to pay the 30 grand up front. Or we could split it out over 18 months. But essentially it's 30 grand that the village is gonna front and then get reimbursed if we're awarded the full amount of the grant proposal. And we are not liable to Axon if OC just comes back and says, nope, you didn't get the grant. It's just, okay, we're not getting body cameras through this program. Okay, okay,
We're applying for the grant.
yep. So we have the optionality to make one payment, because the way the quotation that you shared was split out over 6 years, which I assume is standard protocol for Axon of departments, kind of spread it out. And to your credit and for the public's knowledge, the program that we're applying for is 100% reimbursement for the body cameras. And you had the foresight to get the redaction software, the extra storage, cloud-based storage, which isn't, always standard, and the 3 transcription, okay. And then 3 body cameras? 3 in the dock, okay. So an officer will always have one plus a backup, if you will.
There's, and that's explained with paragraphs. You have to answer those questions in the grant application as to how they'll be utilized. And of course, I did list that there's only one officer on duty per shift, 24/7. So one is wearing a camera, one is charging. There is a spare in the event that spare is needed. And they asked particular questions, and I gave examples of working special events at the village hall, traffic detail. I wanted to include that because your sidewalks are going to have construction. And you need police cars and officers out there. But yeah, it's.
Okay. So we have 3 Axon Body 4 cameras, which is the newest, latest and greatest version from Axon. We have an Axon charging station. You gotta charge them. Evidence storage, evidence redaction assistant user license, auto transcribe unlimited service, and 6 basic license bundles.
Every member of the police department has to have a license, as Mr. O'Leary said at the last meeting. When you have to show the video in court, the screen will show the officer's name, the date, and the time when the video was done.
Okay.
The pro license is for the chief. The basic
So-
licenses are for the officers.
Do we have the estimate in here, John? Mr. Ruskus?
I don't.
I'm just
believe
wondering,
it's-
because.
I don't believe it's attached to the
So
application.
it says
Not
6
that one.
basic.
That was just the
license.
7 pages. That's part of the
Yeah.
application to be submitted, but the quote's not on there.
So 6 basic license bundles. Do you know roughly the cost of a basic license? So I'm just, because where I'm getting is, so we have 6 officers, 1 for the chief, makes sense for the pro license, someone that can access the cloud service and use the auto transcribe, etc. But, say we have 10 officers, is that a cost to the village for that license? Okay. Mr. O'Leary, do you know, didn't we discuss this last meeting about the way the cameras work, that you don't need a license, that there's a way to attach the officer that's on duty, kind of sign in, if you will?
Yeah, but again, when they sign in under their name and license.
So license is required. Is license transferable? Do we know?
Yes.
Okay, so a license can be changed from Say Joe Schmo.
15 Licenses.
they're
And then you
transferable.
change personnel change, yes.
Okay. And then so we have one pro license bundle, you answered that, and then body PSO virtual starter training program included. Is that just the basic training package to get
No,
the,
that is, It's video, it's Zoom with Axon.
okay,
It's individualized for the office.
Okay.
And if there's turnover or just adding people, that doesn't include-
okay. So it's,
everybody will be brought up to where they need.
so it's virtual assistant training for how to use the cameras, et cetera.
They're
Okay.
very easy.
And then it's gonna continue, if I may, the plan includes refreshing, in parentheses, replacement, the cameras and charging stations at 30 months and again at 60 months in the contract. So,
Contract in 5 years, they're replaced right at the end of the contract with 60 months, which gives you the opportunity to enter a new contract.
it says it includes refreshing,
Right.
replacement in parentheses.
I put that in there so that everybody understands what refreshing means. They are replaced because they're upgraded.
So at 30 months, say one breaks or one doesn't function as it should through the life of the contract or for a set.
Like,
Okay.
cover coverage warranty.
So at,
Refresh means they replace the cameras, whether they're broken or not.
so at 30 months, which is 2 years plus 6 months, so 2 years and 6 months, they're replaced. And then again, at 60 months, they're replaced. So we essentially, with this, if we, are successful with our grant proposal, get funded, get the cameras through Exxon, we will have 3 sets of cameras over 6 years, five and change. Okay. And then it's broken down into 5 equal payments, but we just talked about the optionality to pay it sooner due to the grant funds and how those are dispersed. Okay.
And she, how long after the grant has been submitted will you hear? What is award letters are sent out in March?
But just grants, sometimes it's delayed.
You're on grant.
Don't hold
I
it to the
know,
March
I know,
timeline, but
I know.
they're usually pretty good about it. We're supposed to hear about our Nature Works one in early
Still the fall.
November. Yeah,
It
early
said
November,
fall, so
but
it's still the
just
fall.
want to let everyone know, don't hold them to that March timeline, but
That is on CPC's.
yeah, wow. Well, they'll come through the line. It's the new protocol and it delays it a bit, but great job. I know from experience, these are not easy. Glad that you connected with them because that's been my best successes when you talk to the people at these agencies.
They do now have regional managers.
Oh, cool.
Which, that's who I hooked up with, and they really were very, very helpful.
Yeah, no,
And the collaborative side that I worked
they often are. Do you know who the regional manager was? I did you send in that
with.
email?
T.L. Williams.
T.L. Williams, okay,
His first name is Tom, but his email is T.L. Williams.
thank you. It's always helpful to have contact.
I included.
I think that was in the email, yeah.
He's the new guy.
So this is the online submission through, is it sam.gov?
Oh,
No,
CPC's.
this is directly through CJIS. Okay, so this is ready to submit pending approval here today. Great.
And I would prefer to do that tonight, just to make sure there's no glitches.
Yeah. Are you gonna, I see one amendment here. handwritten.
Yeah, we corrected it.
Corrected
I
it, okay.
I wrote it in, but it's corrected on the actual.
So
version.
Mr. Ross, could you have a chance to review it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
So,
roll call,
sorry.
please.
Mr. Joyce, Mrs. Joyce, Mrs. Hardwick, Mrs. Murrah, Mr. Conrad, Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution 2024-31. Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into contract negotiation with CT Consultants for the purpose of design engineering for the LAK 283-3.27 sidewalk project in the village of Timberlake and declare an emergency. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please?
Make a motion?
Ms. Meyer makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mrs. Joyce seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce, Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Conrad, Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. Do I have a motion approving resolution 2024-31, please?
Make a motion?
Ms. Meyer makes a motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Joyce seconds. Discussion?
Good time.
Good time, please.
Okay, so the process, Stan, for this is called a QBS. So quality-based selection process mandated through ODOT, who we received the grant funds through by way of the federal government. And how this worked, so this was posted on ODOT's website for their consultant agreement page or consultant page. And it was a competitive bid process. So we received,
No numbers to show.
hang on. This isn't back and forth, Stan. You know how this works. Let me explain it and you have a second chance to ask more questions and we can certainly talk after. So the way ODOT works and the way the federal funding is tied to these projects, it is not a competitive bid like you're used to, right? Where you put out 3 bids and it's the lowest and best, right? That's the standard bid procedure for municipalities, villages, government entities. QBS means it's quality-based selection. So it is purely based off of the quality of the proposal that they put in front of us. So we actually have 2 that we just received today, which will be the next resolution, which is the third-party review. So we get submissions, they tell us what their proposal is, who their staff is, how much staff they have, what their process is gonna be, how they're gonna interface with the community, and so forth. And then we have a specific criteria that ODOT outlines that you have to base these scores on. So there is a scoring criteria and we can share that with the public if we want. And we can of how that scoring went out. There is also what's called a CES score that ODOT keeps tally of these engineering firms that is not available to the public. So that part we'll have to redact if we do share. But they essentially keep tally of how these engineering firms have performed in the past. So it is purely, here's their proposal, here's how they would go about designing it, here is the expertise they have, here is their environmental team that they will have on it, and that is how we score them. And it is Jerry, help me out here. What's the determinated scoring system or
It's a force
differentiate?
ranking, so you're
Yes.
not allowed to have 2, you have to choose between, on a particular line item, between the 2 or more firms, depending on the number that actually applied. We had 2.
Yep.
That applied for this through ODOT.
Yep.
And in addition to, one other thing that Ryan did not mention was part of the qualitative evaluation comes from what sort of projects have they done. They send examples of those projects, they send pictures, and at the end of the day, and I'm on the committee, Ryan and myself and fiscal officer and the mayor are all members of this committee. As we evaluate it, and one of our frustrations actually is ODOT's rules that you cannot have the same score for 2 different bidders or 3 different bidders, whatever it happens to be. At the end of the day, the scores were close, but the group that won out based on their experience, based on their project experience, based on their staff experience, based on the qualitative evaluation from ODOT, all of that went into their score, and it was close, but CT Consultants won the bid. So that's why tonight we're asking for you or us to approve CT Consultants as the design engineering firm for the project.
Thank you, Jerry. I couldn't remember the force rank is the term
Yeah.
you used while we were doing it too, because it was tough. So we had two proposals before us, both well put together, both reputable firms in this area. And you know, subjectively, CT won out. Based off of, like he said, there was four of us. So it was me, Jerry, the mayor, and the fiscal officer that sat and ranked this based off of ODOT's criteria to rank them. So it reminds me of a rubric when you're grading a test, you know, if you ever had to grade a test before, but there was a rubric set out. Here's the score for each. We went through, we all scored them separately. And then we just averaged the scores and whoever came out on top. And it happened to be CT, which in a perfect world is not ideal, because you will see the next resolution is because CT was selected based off of the QBS system, so the quality-based selection process. We now need to retain a third-party design engineer reviewer because of conflict of interest, because it is federal funds. So extra rules in place because it's federal funds. For everyone that isn't aware, this is a $1.1 million grant that we received from ODOT through the federal government. And there is extra rules in place because it is coming from federal funding. So we have specific criteria that ODOT says you must follow, and that is essentially why we have these, and the rules are suspended because our deadline to authorize the engineer to proceed. So the end of the month, we have to authorize someone to proceed, and we need to have CT consultants on board and third-party engineer on board to sign the contract. It's our municipal engineer, and there's new rules that have been put in place in the last 6 months. So if you hire your own municipal engineer, as you brought up,
I'm fully aware because I still do consulting.
Yep.
Sorry for breaking in,
yep,
but it still gets down to dollars.
yes, but ODOT mandates it is not a dollar and cents thing because it is federal funding that is covering the cost. So, and I agree with you. It is a shame.
They get a percentage.
They,
of the-
yeah,
of the
there
construction
is a
cost, that's
scale,
how it's
there is a
based.
prevailing wage scale, a scale, if you will, that ODOT mandates based off of the hours it'll take, what staff you will need to handle this job. This is what they call a simple job. It's not a complex design protocol. So it's lower criteria for that, but they have mandated kind of what you can bill hours for, and then you charge your hours towards your rate. And most engineering firms carry the same rate. So it is specifically mandated that cost is not a factor in this. It is whoever is the most qualified for the position based off their proposal. And I get it's
I
a
don't
bit
think we
uneasy.
even saw dollars.
No,
In the proposals. The proposals were just, this is what we see the scope of the project being. These is the staff that we would have. This is the experience that we have putting together projects. This is the experience total of what the staff
Yep.
offers. And
It's-
that was it.
It's essentially like when you, put out a job, but you don't put out what you're gonna pay for the job, and you interview people and you offer a position to the best candidate at this rate, right? And the rate is set by ODOT and the scope of the job. So finances do not play a part in either of these two. That is purely who is the most qualified based off of their proposal, and that is what ORC mandates and ODOT mandates via Ohio Revised Code. And that is the position, and why these are suspended, to get back to that point, is because the authorization to proceed with the first phase of design, which will be environmental, is the first phase. It's 11:30. So we got to get moving on this so that we can maintain the timeline that was outlined in the grant proposal that we were awarded.
Yeah, thank you. Roll call, please. Or any
Mis-
other questions or? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce?
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce? Mrs. Hardwick?
Aye.
Mrs. Mara?
Aye.
Mr. Conrad?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson? Aye.
Thank you. Next is resolution 2024-32. Resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into contract negotiations for the purpose of a third-party reviews for the LAK 283 3.27 sidewalk project in the village of Timberlake and declare an emergency. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please?
So moved.
Mr. Conrad makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Joyce seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce, Mrs. Hardwick, Mrs. Mara, Mr. Conrad,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson. Aye.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2024-32, please?
So moved.
Mr. Conrad makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Thompson seconds. Discussion.
So we received two proposals for this phase of the design review. One was from LJB Incorporated and one was from Chagrin Valley Engineering. Proposals are out and about if anyone on council would like to review them. I think, and I'm gonna speak for myself here, and Mr. Joyce, Mayor, and fiscal officer can jump in if they have any comments or interjections to what I'm about to say, but LJB was a very close second when we were going through our QBS process. I think we liked their capabilities. We liked their technology that they were willing to use. I think Mr. Joyce Canley said, I like that they have drones, right? Like that was kind of cool technology. Also work in communities in our area, so they're known to be effective in this area and these type of projects, especially sidewalks and walking paths. So it would be my recommendation as the grant chair and kind of someone that's been leading this effort for the sidewalk project to go with LJB. I understand if others have different or would like to review them further. But I think I know, I'm just saying, they can vote no. I'm just putting it all on the table that I understand if, some time needs to be made on that one. We might have a little more time, to address it, but I think, based off what we've seen twice now from them, and their proposal that they have before us today that they turned in, I think they are the best choice for us. And that would be my recommendation to council, but is, as always.
Okay. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce, Mrs. Hardwick, Mrs. Mara, Mr. Conrad,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson. Aye.
Thank you. Next is ordinance number 11-2024, second reading, an ordinance amending wages and salaries for the employees of the village of Timberlake, Ohio, and declare an emergency. And this, I believe those amendments are all in this budget that we all received. Next, mayor's report. Just want to mention that we do have our new salt spreader. It was installed. We're ready for winter there. We'll be putting on the plow this week. It is a salt spreader that will not cost the village anything. We were able to obtain it through grants. Thank you to Councilman Conrad here. He did a great job in negotiating that. So, but it's one of those reimbursement ones. So we got billed for it, we pay for it, but then we submit the grant and we get 100% reimbursement for it. So that'll work out really great. And plus it's got a little bigger capacity. So, we'll have to make less trips there across the street to get our salt, which is so far away. Anyway, and we're just getting ready. We're just trying to keep up with the leaves, trying to get the guys out there, getting them out of the island so they don't blow on residents' yards at least. At least we try to contain those. So we're doing pretty good on that. And pretty much that's all I have at this point. Just pray that we don't get any other big storms till the end of the year. So
Say it.
next solicitor report. Mr. O'Leary. Okay, thank you. Okay, council member, Ms. Hardwick.
I have a lot of information from, the Village Club, a lot of things coming up in the last couple of weeks. November 30th at 11 in the morning, the Village Hall will be decorated for Christmas. We do need people to help with that. December 9th, 7 o'clock is a Village Club meeting. December 10th at 10 a.m., there is a cookie baking here at the Village Hall. December 12th at 7 o'clock is the holiday concert. That is through the, hold on, I gotta get the right suburb, University Heights Symphonic Orchestra. They played here in the summer and they're coming to do holiday music. It's $5 a person, children are free, and a little coupon was in the Timberlake Times to turn in for that. The 13th, December 13th, which is a Friday, there will be setup for Santa Claus is coming to town. Volunteers needed for the setup. December 14th at 11 o'clock, 11 till 1, Santa Claus will be coming to town. It's a family event. And of course, on December 24th at 10 o'clock, the luminaries will be set up for East Shore for the annual, putting them out and then lighting them. They are having a coat drive, looking for gently used coats for all ages. And they can be dropped off at 6 Owassa by November 21st. And we always need volunteers to help make the village look nice, to get the events out, get the events something that not only for adults, but for children as well. And that's all they have right now.
Thank you. Conrad?
Thank you, Mayor, and Ms. Hardwick. I'm gonna need a reminder of those December events when December meeting comes around, please. Yeah, looking forward to the holidays. Thank you for touching on that. The luminaries will, I'll actually be in town this year, so I can put my luminaries out. And I know last year, or was it last year that they were canceled because of the snow? Was it
No, last
2
year
years
we
ago?
had 'em.
Last year we were.
Yeah,
I
year
alternate. I gotta
before.
go to West Virginia to go to the in-laws. So this year I am home and I hope we get good weather so we're not canceled. I do want to touch on a few things on grants. So we have Lake Trans November meeting coming up where they will be deciding on grant proposals. And we did submit a grant proposal to cover the cost of the sidewalks that would be on the village. So it's a $200,000 grant submission before Lake Trans Board. And they will be deciding hopefully on that this month. So it'll be, I think it's the 25th of November. I might be off on that date, but coming after this meeting, we should know by our December meeting. And I want to give a shout out to Ben Capel, Andrea, Abby, and the board of Lake Tran. They did discuss it at their last board meeting. And they did say it is discretionary, so totally up to the board. They don't have to, they can approve some, they can approve none. They can say, nope, we're not giving any funding for this, but we were one of 6 and we did rank the highest. So we are number 1 out of 6 communities of the likes of Menor, the usual communities that you would expect to apply for it. So we do rank the highest based off their point system. So we hope that they will take that into consideration and fund this project. We were kind of one of 2 communities that were the inspiration for them to open this up for grant funding. So I feel pretty strongly that it'll be received well, but you know, again, it is discretionary, so it is totally up to the board how they see and how they want to fund it. And then we are also kind of eagerly anticipating response for our Nature Works grant that we put in last year, and we were again close second to Painesville City, and that would be to update our playground at the Wildman Playground with some new play structures and kind of inclusive play structures for those with ambulatory issues in the village. That would be a huge upgrade there to kind of get it to the point of being inclusive for all in the village. Hopefully optimistic. They said November. I check every day, see if they made any announcements, and none have come yet. Like I said, we were a close second to Painesville City's dog park last year. So fingers crossed that we beat the dog this time, I guess, if you will. And I did get Alan Peterson came up and I was asking about some sewers and some options we could do to potentially alleviate some flooding in his area and tie in his downspout. So I will take that to the mayor and look at the plans and see if there's anything we can do. Again, I want to let everyone know, as the guy in charge of sewers, it is the least funded area in the state of Ohio, right? It's not a very, if you will, sexy proposal to get grant funding for storm sewers. There's a lot of funding for wastewater and water treatment right now are kind of the two big things. But storm sewers kind of get put to the side. So there hasn't been any grant funding that we've been able to sink our teeth into. We did propose a OPWC grant through CT Consultants helped us with that. And it was in conjunction with our neighbors at the East Lake Power Plant. But that kind of fell through due to them not wanting to continue and put up the funds for a local match. We continue to search for storm sewer grants and remind everyone that our storm sewers were built. There was the 1950s, the earliest, or the
Probably
around
around,
there, and they are undersized for the capacity of rain we had. I think Kevin can speak to the 100-year storms that we get every year now and the trees that go down. So unfortunately, we all feel and experience the pain when we get these huge rainfalls and the storm sewers back up. They do end up draining. And the mayor touched on the service department cleaning out these catch basins. And I do believe they will continue to make those rounds. And now that the leaves have kind of all fallen, start to clean them out before the winter. And we get those snows and the snow and thaws where we get water sewers again. So we all feel the pain of storm sewers backing up, and we're doing, everything we can. But if we were to redo all the storm sewers today and cover it as a village, it would be upwards of $10 million. We do all of those. Dan says he's going to write a check for us, so that'll be helpful. Yeah, I think that's all I have this time. Besides touching on the reason we suspend rules, I think I touched on it previously, but a lot of these grant fundings, as Mr. O'Leary said, are time sensitive and there's deadlines we have to meet. So that is why we suspend the rules on that. And this project has been, something I've been pushing for a year. Plus, maybe more. As a reason I got on council, I live on Lake Shore. I experienced the traffic on Lake Shore. I have kids that live on Lake Shore. That is the push for sidewalks. Everyone is convinced that it is looking like, can't say for certain, but 100% funded, pending that Lake Tran grant and, maybe some small consultant fees that we pay for sign. But for a $1.1 billion project, like our liability is going to be maybe in the top. Cover something. So it is quite a huge project. Say 99% funded. Huge win, and to limit the liability on the village in terms of financial responsibility is kind of a win in my book. And then other grants come. That, fingers crossed, we get the Nature Works the second time. Upgrade our playground to make it more inclusive for all those in the village. Thanks.
thank you, Mr. Joyce, Finance.
Couple of things. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for coming tonight. I know we stream these meetings and you can watch them in the privacy of your home, but as council members, having the benefit of actually having people here, being part of the conversation, some of the questions that were asked early on give us something more to talk about than what we have just necessarily on our agenda. So thank you all for coming, and we do this every month. So, you know, I'll always look in the Timberlake Times and you'll see what the date is, but it's most likely the third Tuesday of each month. And meetings are always open, and villagers are always, and interested parties are always invited to come.
Great.
Secondly, I'd like to latch on to what Councilperson Hardwick said with regard to the Village Club. I think the Village Club is doing a great job. There have been all sorts of activities, much more than have been in the recent past. I really like the energy that this Village Club is putting forth, and all of the activities, a lot of things going on with the kids, and I think that that's great. I'd urge all of you to take advantage of the concert that will be in here. We're not going to try and do that concert outside. I know we did the one outside in the summertime. I don't expect that the weather in December is going to cooperate in Cleveland. So I invite you all to come to that. Now, a couple of things that came up in the questions. It's my understanding, Ryan, please correct me with it, but that grant, when we passed the proposal or passed the resolution to apply for the grant for the sidewalks, we did that with the understanding that we would maintain the sidewalks, that the village, that the service department would maintain the sidewalks. They would plow the sidewalks and maintain those. I don't know about the inspections. You know, periodically, I guess they would have to be looked at, but that's something that we definitely, at least on the surface, would plan to do as part of this. Secondly, the grant was applied for after we did solicit opinions from the people who lived along Lakeshore Boulevard. Councilman Mara, Councilperson Mara, and Councilperson Joyce, Mrs. Joyce, went door to door on Lakeshore Boulevard. And although the majority of people on Lakeshore Boulevard were not in favor of it, they were not in favor of it for the reason that they thought that they were going to have to pay for it.
And plow it.
And plow it, and maintain it, and do all, and then be liable for anything that wasn't taken care of, wasn't maintained. Then the next thing that we heard was that if we didn't take the lead and go after the grant, that there was another government agency, I think NOACA maybe, that they were going to go ahead and do it anyway, and that we would have no control over what the design looked like, and whether or not the landscaping would be fixed, and allow our people a chance to actually weigh in on the process. Now, I think that when we get the initial designs, our intentions are actually to have a town hall and to invite the people in the village to come in and comment on the kinds of things that we're doing. They were talking about having a 10-foot wide path, and we don't want that. We want a standard sidewalk size. The 10 feet, even though they would have the right to do that under the right-of-way laws, they would have been able to go further into people's property, and we didn't want to do that either. So we took a lot of things into consideration. We do listen to villagers when villagers decide to tell us what they think. And as a matter of fact, in this one case, we actually had two people go door to door and ask for, we solicited their opinions on this. So, you know, it is the kind of thing where we welcome opportunities to talk to villagers. We all have telephone numbers. You can call us. I have taken phone calls from people regarding these sidewalks, and you know, I've explained exactly the way I'm explaining tonight what happened, and it sort of, it doesn't calm the waters completely, but it sort of calms them down a little bit. So please feel free to call any one of us and ask us what's going on. If we don't know the answers immediately, we'll find out. And none of us are so arrogant that we would not tell you that we don't know the answer. We'll find out and we'll get back to you. So that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Okay, Mrs. Joyce.
Oh, okay. Just a few minor things, public safety. We are thrilled to be at the point where we're applying for body camera grants. That has been in the works for, since the spring. So we're thrilled we're finally at that point. And the second thing is we are beginning to work on that emergency plan. I've reached out to the East Lake Fire Chief and Paul Stefanko. I haven't had luck in connecting with them, but I'll pursue that again next week.
Emergency plan for like using the hall.
For
emergencies,
Yeah,
when
and
they-
how to contact.
When we're out of
people and-
electricity, when we have phones in charge to use the hall, what are the limits we have to use this for the not next emergency?
Right? And then the final thing is we are soliciting residents who might be interested in serving on that committee. So there'll be a note in the Timberlake Times. So if you're interested in helping develop that, we really appreciate your participation. That's it.
Thank you. Mara?
Few calls from residents. Leaves. We've never had leaf pickup. Unfortunately, it's not on the budget. But then I have people putting leaves in their bags, the paper bags, and some putting the leaves out early. Those leaves fall over and they're all over the street. So I have to go over to the resident and say, they're like, what do we do with them? I said, well, you have to hold them in your garage or hold them in your backyard until the public comes. We don't have leaf pickup. I have a person that actually avoids me. And when I go on the front door, he goes around the back door because he's blowing his leaves in the island. And we can't blow our leaves in the island either. I wish I had a better suggestion, but we don't have leaf pickup. So if anybody's new, pass it on. Maybe I'll just put it off to people who are new in the village. We also do not put our garbage out 24 hours before. I mean, it could be 24 hours before, but I see some people I know people are moving in and out, but we can't have garbage out 2 and 3 days before garbage day because I've gotten complaints about that. We've heard about East Lake talking about rats. I personally, haven't seen the rats, but I take the word from the person who has told me that. And putting out garbage too early isn't a great thing, especially when they're moving out. They just leave the garbage and leave. Once again, about parking, if you have a party, it's still 2 wheels on and 2 wheels off on every street in the village, isn't it? Every street in the village, 2 wheels on, 2 wheels off,
Besides Lakeshore,
in front of the property line.
besides Lakeshore.
Besides Lakeshore. Okay. Besides Lakeshore. Okay. Just to make sure about that. Okay. Sounds good. And, and please, yes, the concert December 12th, the University Symphonic Band. What a great time. The first time, please try to make it to only 2 hours. The village is coming together to bake cookies for a couple of days beforehand. It's an hour, presentation, then a refreshment time for villagers to talk, get together, hot chocolate, coffee, cookies, and then another finish it off, another half hour, 45 minutes of a presentation. They're very good, but seating is limited because there's 50 of them. Okay, so we're gonna I think, what did you say, Cindy? Ms. Hardwick, 125 is in the hall? Pardon me?
No, it's 125 with tables, right?
125 of eating and 150.
150.
Okay, so we have limited seating, so please, if you can, look in the times. If not, go on the website, you could print it out, and if not, come and see me and I'll give you a form. So I'm looking forward to that. That's it.
Thank you. Okay. Thompson?
Thank you. Well, no update on trees, thankfully, so that's good. But I did want to mention that near the end of last month, the Village Club put on a Halloween party here at Village Hall. So I want to thank the volunteers who did that. There were junk food, there was pizza, there were games, and they even made a makeshift haunted house with yeah. And it was a nice time. My family attended and my almost 2-year-old son had a blast. So if you guys have children or grandchildren, I highly encourage you to come if they continue to do it every year, and I certainly hope they do. So thanks again for that.
The Village Club has had a sub club happen. It's called the Parents Club, Mom's Club, Dad's Club, and they are very, very, very hands-on, let's do this, let's try this, let's see how it goes. They have some wonderful ideas for the village children. And everything also always goes back to the volunteers who could help out, make these events happen.
I want to say I wasn't able to attend the Halloween, but any event that I've attended that the Village Club has put on has had kid activities. I kind of want to echo what Councilman Thompson said about, kids always have a blast and ask when's the next event. So that is a huge benefit to this community, and we thank those that serve on the Parents Club, if you will. And I don't know, do they have a formal name yet? We have to give them something special. Village Club 2.0. But yeah, that's it. 'Cause it's not easy to put on those events, and it's all unpaid, right? Volunteer time. And real quick, if I may, thank you, Councilman Joyce, for elaborating some more on the process we went through as we were entertaining funding for that grant and the sidewalks. And I also do want to say it's great to see a full house. We had, 3 meetings in a row where no one was here. I don't even think Debbie was here for a few of them. She's always here. It was empty and it was kind of boring. So yeah, it was playoff baseball time.
We know
But-
where we stand.
But we love to see the faces and people come and share their perspectives. It is appreciated. So that's it.
Thank you. Okay, fiscal officer report, Mr. Roskis.
Our general fund ending balance through October 31st is $542,032. Our monthly revenue for October was $65,424 versus expenditures of $46,045 for a net surplus for the month of $19,379. Expenditures were about $1,541 less than estimated due to a variety of miscellaneous items. October 2024 revenue exceeded expectations by $23,924. That's primarily due to the timing of the receipt of the homestead and rollback receipt from the state of Ohio, which came a month late, usually arrives in September, and also slightly higher than estimated income tax receipts. Our overall year-to-date revenue is $105,866 higher than last year at this point. Our income tax revenue is $91,293 more than last year, year-to-date. Based on our current estimated spending and stable revenue throughout the rest of the year, we estimate a surplus for the general fund this year of around $169,814 without any additions to our capital funds. If we add $15,000 to the police cruiser capital fund at the end of the year, we would be looking at an estimated surplus of $154,814. And again, this estimate is based on no significant income tax refunds or other unexpected events. Other significant fund activity and miscellaneous. We received our quarterly infrastructure fees from the Lake County Department of Utilities in the amount of $6,489. This benefits our sanitary sewer maintenance fund 2901. And we also received $2,904 from NOPEC for the upgrade of our streetlights on Lakeshore Boulevard to LED street lighting, and also one of the lights by the service garage, I believe. That's in Fund 2902. And additionally, three refunds totaling $300 were issued from our Fund 9901 Hall Rental Security Deposit Refund Fund.
Okay, thank you.
Can you, Mr. Reskus, so we exceeded expectations by $24,000 because of the timing of the homestead enrollment?
Yes.
Isn't that payments out for us? Don't we
No,
get money back for
homestead
that?
and rollback we received from the state of Ohio.
Oh,
so it's a-
okay.
yeah.
So residents get the discount and the state
And the
reimburses
state
for the money.
reimburses us for certain levies before a certain date or
Gotcha.
year.
Okay,
So
I had that backwards in my
Yep.
head. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Next, police chief report. There were 6 911 calls, 1 alarm call, 1 loose animal, 6 assists, 69 community policing, 1 hazard call, 166 house checks, 8 investment complaints, 2 lockouts, 1 noise complaint, 21 park patrols, 2 property calls, 1 scam reported, 1 theft, and 2 welfare checks, for a total of 299 reports. Next is the zoning and property maintenance report. There were, for Gary Gray, there were 1 new garage permit, 1 new home permit, 3 roofs, 2 fences, 1 siding, and 1 shed permit issued. Next, we move on to purchases and approvals. Motion to approve the October 2024 financial reports, please.
So moved.
Mr. Joyce makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Conrad seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce, Mrs. Hardwick, Mrs. Mara, Mr. Conrad, Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, move on to the second public comment portion. Again, 3 minutes per person, may be directed at the mayor, council members, reserved for follow-up questions on topics that were discussed at today's meeting. Anyone would like to address, please?
Stan Roediger, 10, press the button. 10 East Shore. Follow up on the sidewalks. On 2432, there are 3 engineering firms listed. You only said there were 2. You left out Burgess and Nyepel. Is there a reason you don't like them?
They did not submit a proposal. for our
So
request.
the ordinance is incorrect? Because the ordinance has 3.
We have the ordinance in here, John.
Well, I have a copy of it. I mean, you should have a copy of
I
it.
should. 3 were requested, 2 submitted.
That's who we submitted.
That's who we asked for proposals from. 3 local firms that,
So
Okay.
we submitted the announcement to those.
All right. The second thing on sidewalks is, I'm glad that Mr. Joyce said that the service department, the village, will maintain the sidewalks forever. Snow removal and maintenance and whatever. Well, that'd be maintenance and repair. So the minutes of the meeting will state that the sidewalks will be maintained and plowed by the village of Timberlake forever. Is-
Till further.
Oh, so next year, when they're done, you can say, nope, homeowner has to maintain them.
oh, 2027 is when they will go in.
Oh, so that's
We had-
to be
we have-
known
We have 2
2020.
years still ahead of us.
I understand that, but sometime in the future, the homeowners will be in charge of it.
Oh.
You were talking about grants. For 4 years now, Mr. Mayor, I've been waiting for a grant to repair that 10-inch sewer that goes nowhere through my property. I have never received a copy of the grant. Do I have to ask through the engineering, your engineer was supposed to put out, request grants? And do I have to go through public records, or is there a reason why there's been nothing ever reported on that 10-inch that we looked at with the county storm sewer engineers? Do you remember, it was a very hot day?
It was.
And for 4 years, nothing? I guess, okay.
We
That-
haven't received anything from, I know, ODOT was supposed to look at that, but she never got back anything on anything, so.
Was there ever a grant submitted?
No, we never submitted the grant for that, because we couldn't find a grant to submit for. I mean, again,
Dan, if you find grants for storm sewer.
That's not the point.
please
I
send
just,
them my
I
way.
was told that this was gonna happen. The final thing is, we're talking about land. And there is a section of land that's 12 foot 9 inches by 760 feet. That's the end of, mini Wawa. It's up against the fence. Is that for use for the villagers for access to the lake, or just those 4 or 5 homeowners? Right, but right. So it's owned, I understand who it's owned by. I looked it up. But is it to be used just for them? And there's a fence up there. There's a gate
where,
up against their fence that goes to your house. 12 foot 8 inches is the 12.87 plus. I was wondering what that parcel was used for. It's all private property. But some people have asked me, since they looked it up, is that access for the villagers? And are there easements with the village or any other data like parcel A, parcel B?
Yeah. Parcel A is
So-
next.
So
Parcel
hang
A?
on, hang on. hang on.
Is it the same stipulation?
This is
Hang
another
on.
subject. It's
This
nothing to
is-
do with-
I understand.
This is
I
not-
just,
This is the second public portion, which is intended to go over stuff that was discussed.
I understand.
during
I
the
just
meeting,
thought I'd slide it in there,
And
Jim.
you're at 4 minutes and
Uh,
13 seconds.
Well, he took 10 seconds when he responded to me. So
Thank you, Mr.
I'll
Wood.
put a request in writing.
Thank you. Any other?
Jane Shavako, 14 East Shore. So now the village is going to maintain these sidewalks. Where are we going to afford the manpower and the equipment? We don't have equipment to clear sidewalks. That gator is a two-wheel gator. It's not a four-wheel drive gator. We aren't going to be able to use that to do our sidewalks. So that means we're going to have to invest and buy equipment to clear sidewalks. Where are those funds going to come from? And where's the extra manpower funds in the winter when we're scrambling for people to snowplow, but we need somebody to be clearing sidewalks? And I'm just curious also to follow up, where are those funds coming from?
Funds will be coming from the Lake Shore funds.
Yeah, so we get money every year from the state of Ohio to maintain and repair Lakeshore Boulevard
And anything
and
within the right of way, which.
and-
sidewalks.
and we also do have, if you're not familiar, we do Bobcat skid steer that would fit that. Well,
We'll
that-
get,
now
I'm
that,
sure we'll get some grants for some new equipment.
Yeah, and-
You know, we have
and-
2 years of work on it.
Again, this
Yes.
is public portion.
Yes.
Which means that this is not a forum that we go back and forth.
no,
If you'd like to make a comment, you can get up and make that
Yep.
comment. Whether the mayor directs that it be responded to will be up to the mayor.
Any other comments? Please.
Yeah, Debbie King, 43 East Shore Boulevard. We do have leaf pickup available to people who live in the village. If they want to call and get that. If they rake all their leaves or blow all their leaves over to the street side, to the street, the edge of their property on the street.
Who picks it up?
Oh, it's it's a cost to the,
You mean if the homeowners make?
oh, sure.
Oh, sure. okay.
Yeah. Oh, no, no, no.
Hey,
not us.
Private leaf
So that
pickup,
must be
yes.
village. Yeah, why am I
No,
begging?
no. If you want to tell them that,
Okay, that's fine.
yeah, that's all I
I'll
wanted
make
to
that.
say.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would hate, oh, it's their money.
Okay. Anyone else? That's it. Do I have a motion to adjourn, please?
No, are we going
Oh.
to executive session? We're gonna skip it tonight. Okay. Motion to adjourn then.
So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Joyce, Mr. Conrad, seconds.
Oh, that's first.
Roll call, please.
All right, give it to him. Let him
Mr. Joyce,
Aye.
Mrs. Joyce,
Aye.
Mrs. Hardwick,
Aye.
Mrs. Mara, Mr. Conrad,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
You know, we had leaf pickup and I didn't know about it.